Hello, welcome to the new episode, the episode 4 of our food series app. So in this episode, we will turn our basic profile page, as you can see here, into a production ready flow, live data from Firestore, and a searchable country picker, just like down here. So the way it works is that once we click on the profile tab here, it brings us to the profile page. And in this profile page, we will be able to change the user's existing picture if they have one and update some of these details. Then once we click on the country, then this dialog picker will come up. And in this dialog picker, we're going to use the RESTCountries API to populate this in order to fetch countries, their dial code, and also their flag and their name, so that we can select a particular country the user belongs to. So this is all we're going to be doing in this, and also have this info card, which gives us information about the error we are encountering. Maybe there is no network and this will come up. In practice, this is what our app is going to look like. And once we log in like this, I think we can sign out, then log back in. So once we log back in here, we can go to our profile like this, and here we can select a new image for the user, and we can also update some of these details. Like I say, you see the country picker is up, so we can search any country of our choice, like let's say United Kingdom, and here we have the United Kingdom. And once we confirm that, it's going to populate this field and also the dial code down here. So isn't that amazing? So once we enter items for all these other fields, we can rightfully update. You see the update button is now live. But before I click that, let's open our Firebase database and watch that in real time. So this is our authentication, which I think we've logged in, and we have our username and email address. Let's go to our database here and see the data that we already have. So you see most of these fields are null. So now let's drag this to the side and see if that responds. We have updated some of this info. Then we click update. You see our database is updated almost immediately. So it's very responsive and all that. So if we decide to upload a new picture here, for instance, we can go to, let's minimize that, go to our storage, and in our storage here coming up, so we have users, we have some of these images here, the profile, we have one image here. So I can decide to delete that. I've deleted that, so there's no image here. So if we come back here and click on this, we'll select that particular image. You see here it's loading. Now it's 100% loaded and it's populated, right? So now if we click update, it's going to save that image to our database. So let's refresh, let's reload our storage and see if that image has been added again. So I think we have the image here now. Yeah, as you can see, we have that image here. Okay, so we have that image. So everything is rightly responsive as we want them to be. So now let's build this app, and we're going to do this in 3 parts, which is we're going to first of all create our components. After creating our components, then we read our customer flow and update our data, then implement that API service. Okay, so let's begin. So this is our app where we left off in episode 3, which we did some weeks back, and let's give it a quick run and see if everything still works as we left it. Here we can log in. So you click this profile, nothing happens because we have not implemented it. So but before we begin, I want to make some changes, which is to update this, because now that is open, we need to change this menu icon to the close icon. And to do that, we go to, I think, in our home, and in our home screen, this is where we implement that. So in our home screen here, so we go to our navigation icon, which is here here. This is our navigation icon. So we open this with an animated icon so that we can rightly change that icon right there to the close icon. So first of all, we come down here and we add animated content. And in our the target state for our animated content is going to be the drawer state, which we have set up above. Then in the body of the animated content, we set a condition. We say that if the drawer, the inverse of the drawer dot is open, so that means the drawer is closed. So let's give this a name here, which is drawer. Let's give it a name drawer. Right. So here we'll call the drawer dot, the inverse of the drawer dot is open. Then we should set our menu icon, so that means the drawer is closed at that point. So call this, put it here, so we set up our menu icon. Then else, if it's not open, that means if it's not closed, because that's the condition above, we put another icon here and change it to the icon close icon like this. So with that, our navigation will be rightly displayed the right way. So let's give that a quick run and see how that performs. So like I told you, in this application we'll be making some changes and improving our app as we go. So let's do that. You see now it's now the close icon here, so once we click on that it will close back. So that's done right away. That was an easy fix. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is that we looked at, when we go back to our data here in our repo, customer repo implementation, in our last episode, I did something here which I wasn't comfortable with, because there's a lot of pitfalls to the way we create our customers and we're not catching any error, and our unsuccess and error were never called, so which is a very bad way of doing things. So we're going to correct that before we move forward. So let's do that now. So what we need to do is nothing else but let's cut all this off and let's put this in a try catch. So in our catch, e.exception, and in the body, let's call our request state dot error, and in the body we can say fail to create customer. That's okay. Fail to create customer, then e.message. Okay, just like that. All right, so this is what our catch will look like. Then let's just paste our initial implementation here, and instead of empty unit here, let's call on success here. Okay, so with that, I think our implementation looks a lot safe than it was before, so that we can catch any error or any issues that might arise. So let's give our app a quick run, but before we do that, let's go and delete the user that we've already created in our database to see that, to make sure that our creation works as it should. I was looking at the wrong app, so let's delete all these. Delete. Okay, go to our Firebase, delete the documents. Okay, so we'll have a clean slate here. So let's go back to our app and sign out and relaunch our app. So that's the moment of truth. Okay, so we're back in our app. So let's check our database and see that a new user have been created. We created, so nothing was broken. Everything still works fine. That's also an easy fix. So let's move on to the next one. Let's shut this down, close this up, and let's go full scale. Okay, so right now we'll be needing this guy, but not immediately. So let's close up all this. So the first thing we need to create here, we're going to create 4 custom fields. We're going to create a text field, an info card, an error card, and a loading card. So first of all, let's start with our text fields, because if you check out, let's go back again to our prototype here. So now in our prototype, you see we have this text fields, and we used it many times, so there's no point recreating those text fields. So we're going to create a custom text field that we're going to use to populate this, so that it will also make our app testable. All right, so we're going to pass all the text as parameters. So now in our text field is also going to handle the validation state of all the state changes that when we update or read our customer flow. All right, and we'll do that. Let's create, okay, we'll have a component package here already. So in this component package, we are going to start creating, first of all, our test field. Okay, so let's add a Kotlin file here, and in that Kotlin file let's call it Burgers test field, as we have done before with the other part. Okay, oh, not a class, my bad. So this is going to be a function at composable. So now our test field is going to have a body, and in that body we're going to first of all start with our modifier, and we'll have a value because of the value, which is going to be there, and it's going to be a string, and also on value change for state changes when we update the existing value on value change, and that's going to be a boolean, a unit, and it's going to be of type string. Okay, and after that we will need a placeholder in case there is no data yet to tell the user what needs to be there, and it's going to be a nullable string, and let's make this, assign this to null for now. Then our test field is also going to be either enabled or disabled. Like if you have a look in our email is always permanently disabled because we don't want them to change that right away. So once you sign up with your email, that's going to be the email you'll be using through our app. Okay, so we can also make this full screen, and this is going to be a boolean, and we make this to be true because most of them are going to be enabled, only a few. So then on error is going to be a boolean, and our error is going to be false for now. And the next parameter is either expanded, because we're going to reuse this test field somewhere, maybe in creating our products, because in our products we're going to have test fields like for the details of the product. So those ones are going to be expanded. So okay, boolean, and this is going to be false because most is going to be true because it's not going to be expanded all the time. So now let's add our keyboard options, because some of our keyboards are going to allow just numbers like our phone number, and some are going to allow both numbers and alphabet. So keyboard options, and we assign that to keyboard option class, then pass the parameter keyboard type and assign that to keyboard type dot text for most of them. Okay, right, so these are the parameters that we will need for our burger test field. Then now we want to make the border color to either show once it's loaded initially and there's no data, some of the null fields will show error to show that something is required so that the user can be prompted to update. Okay, so let's create a variable here that we call border color, and by animate color state, and set our target value to say if error, let's pass our error, then border error. Have we created that before? Oh yeah, we have that, border error. Else let's say border idle, which is our border gray, the gray border that we have. Okay, all right, so that will be the variable that we do that swap, that we use for that swap to determine if the test field is populated or not. So now let's call our test field in here, and in our test field we call our modifier and assign the modifier we've created above, and now we're going to make it to fill the maximum width because we want it to cover the parent width. Then let's add a border where we add that border color that we created above. So down here, let's set the width of our border. Sorry, my bad, need to import border. Okay, so let's set the width of our border to 1.dp, nothing fancy. Import dp again, and we'll set, seems I've imported the wrong border here, it's compose UI, not foundation. I guess Okay, let's do that again. 1.dp, and let's add a color, and our color will be the border color that we'll set above there. And also the shape, we want the shape to be rounded corner shape, and we set that to 6.dp, just tiny bit, nothing too much, too bogus. So then let's clip this, and we still set that to rounded corner shape, and pass our 6.dp here. Then after that, let's set enabled. So enabled, we set enabled to enabled that we've created above, and also the value, we set whatever value we pass to our text field. And on value change, we still pass our on value change. And after that, we set our placeholder. So in our placeholder, we will say if placeholder is not null, that means if placeholder is not null, then we add a test, and that test is going to pass our placeholder here. Then set the font size to font size. So down here we say else we just pass null like that. If there is something that will pass the placeholder, if not, then we'll just pass null there, just like that for now. Then we want to make our text field, no matter what is there, for the unexpanded text field, we want it to be a single line. So let's pass comma here. Then single line is the inverse of expanded. So if it's not expanded, then it should be single line. But if it's expanded, it should go multiple line, like in our description, as you will see later. So the next thing is to create a shape, and our shape here is going to be a rounded corner shape. And in our rounded corner shape is 6.dp. Then the next thing is to set our keyboard options, and our keyboard options will pass our keyboard options that we've created above. Then after that, we need to set the colors. So in our colors, we say text field default, right, dot colors. So we have a lot of parameters here that we want to set for our colors, but I won't bore you with that, so I will copy that from somewhere and paste it here so that we can move. So we import all this and import all this. Did we create this utility called alpha? Have we created that? No, we have not created this util called alpha yet. So we go to our util package. Let's create some alpha units so that we can use that across our app. So this is going to be an object, and we call that alpha. And in our alpha, we're going to have some constant variables, which are going to be full equal to 1f. Then this is going to be half, and this is going to be 0.5f. And we're going to have disabled, our disabled color, and we set that to 0.38f. And also we're going to have 10% color, and we set that to 0.1f. I think I've used the wrong character here. Okay, so the next one is 20%, and that will be 0.2f. And the last one is 0, so it's 0 opacity. So, and that is called 0, and that will be 0.0f. Alright, so this is our alpha now. So we can close that down, go back here and import that. So if we import that, this is fine. Import this and import this. So what we've simply done here is unfocused container color. So when it's not focused, it should be surface light. When it's focused, it should also be for surface light. Focused text color, text primary, unfocused text primary. So we didn't go crazy with that. So for disabled, we set it to disabled. For focused placeholder, we set it to half. Unfocused placeholder, we set it to half. Disabled placeholder, we still set it to disabled. So when disabled container color, then it should be surface dark. It will be grayed out completely. So focused indicator color, we set that to transparent, and unfocused indicator color still transparent. Error indicator color transparent as well. Selection color, icon, secondary, handle color, and background. So that's just what we've done here. And with that, I can tell you that our text field is ready to be used. So now, as you remember, we still have some other components to create, which the next one we go into now now is to create the info card. Okay, so the info card is also going to be a very simple one. So let's go to our components and add our Kotlin file, and we call that info card. So here in our info card, our composable, the info card, this is going to be, the info card is going to have a modifier, and do that, put the wrong one before and now import the right one. Okay, so that's fine. Then now we're going to have an image in our info card, and that image is going to be an int, and we're also going to have a title, and that title is going to be a string, and also we'll have a subtitle, and that's also going to be a string. So now in the body, we're going to create a column. Yeah, sometimes it seems like spelling becomes a problem here. All right, so we come here, our column is going to have our modifier, we pass our modifier, and now we want it to fill the maximum size of the parent, which is the home. Here we're going to have a vertical arrangement, and our arrangement is going to be center, then a horizontal alignment, which is also going to be centered horizontally. Then after that, we set our image, and we use the modifier to set the size of this image. So the size, we say let's make it 80.dp, so that it will be visible enough. Then after that, we use our painter resources to add painter resource. We have image, we'll pass our image like this. Okay, so then we add a content description for our screen reader, and we call that info card image. Okay, so that's the image there. Then after the image, let's add a vertical spacer here, which is going to be height, and we set that to, let's set that to 16.dp. Guess that should be fine. Or let's make this 24. I made it 24. So then after that, we'll add a text, which is going to be our title, and our text is going to have the title parameter that we've just created above. But before that, let's make it customary to add our modifier first, and our modifier is going to be modifier dot fill max width. Okay, not size, max width. Okay, so now after that, we can now set our font size. So our font size dot, let's make it medium. Then our font width is going to be font width dot bold. I'll make that bold. Okay, make yours bold. So text align, and let's set our text align to the center dot center like this. So after that, let's add another tiny spacer in between these two texts and paste that here, and make this is going to be together. I want it to look, so make this 4. Then let's just copy this text here to make us go faster. And now this is our subtitle, not the title. Then this is going to be regular, and this is going to be aligned to center, and this is not going to be bold as well. So that is our info card done. Simple, isn't it? So now that we've created the info card, we can close that down, close this down as well. So now let's quickly set our loading card. Our loading card is just a center aligned circular progress indicator, which shows the user that something is loading up. Okay, so let's create that so that we can use it every other place in our app. This is going to make our work easier moving forward. So that's why we're taking the pain to create some of them now to clear the way. So down here, we set our famous modifier, and we'll assign that to modifier. I've imported the wrong one again, and it's going to bite now. So let's import the right one. I need the body before I can do that. All right. Okay, so this is the right one here. Right. So here we just use a box to create that, and in that box we assign our modifier to the modifier we've created above, and we can set that to fill the maximum size of the parent, and after that we set the content to alignment dot center. So now we call our circular progress indicator here, and in the body we set the size of the progress indicator. We set that to dot size. Let's set that to like 24.dp, nothing fancy. Then Then after that, we'll add a color, and let's set that to icon primary. Let's find out what this icon is. I think it's black. So I will set that to icon secondary so that it will be our brand yellow here. So I forget this color many times. Icon, what did I call it again? Icon brand, icon secondary. Okay, right. So and let's set the stroke width. The stroke width, we set that to 2.dp. Okay, so that's our loading card all done. Let's optimize our imports, keep it clean. Can also close that. So the next thing we can create now is our error card, which is just similar to our info card, similar to our loading card, but we have some slight differences here. So let's go back to file error card, and if I copy that, and here we create our composable and font and paste what I copied and add the body for this one, then call our famous modifier and assign modifier and do that. Yeah, then we have a message, and our message is going to be a string, and after the message we set the font size and we'll set the text unit, and we'll assign that to font size dot small. I need to import font size, but I need to add body before you can let me do that. So small right there. So when I spell this wrong, and that's everything looking fine. So here we're going to use another box, and in the box is going to have a body, and in the body we'll assign our modifier to the modifier we've created up here, and content alignment dot center. Okay, so now we add our text here that is going to give us the error that was returned either from our network query or wherever the error is from. So dot fill from our database, there will be maximum width. Let's import text, and text is this one. So then the text is going to be the message, whatever message is the error. So our font size is going to be the font size that we've created, and text align, and we'll set text align dot center. Okay, I need to assign this to font size that we've created here. So now we have our error card done as well, so we can just close all these components down and proceed. So now we have our components. The next thing to create now is to create our profile form. That's another component, because we want to make our profile form a component, and so that will be testable as well. So in our profile package, let's add, have we created a package for the profile? Not yet. So in our features, we add a package that we're going to call a profile, and in this profile we're going to create another Kotlin file that we'll call the profile form. So in the profile form, we're going to, that's where we check all the values and make sure our value change are responding correctly. So we call this profile form, and in the profile form is going to have some parameters as well. So first of all, we start with our famous modifier and assign that to modifier. So now the parameters that we need here are going to come from our model, which is this customer model, so that because this is what we're going to map and read from our database, and that is everything that we require here. As you can see, name, first name, last name, email address, country, city, what's this again, postal code and address, then these two fields that we have here. So these are all the parameters that will be part of our profile form, because that's what we want to read from our database. Okay, so now we start with first name, and our first name is going to be a string, and on first name change will be equal to a unit with of type string. Okay, so to make this faster, we can copy this and then add the unit there. So we can copy this and duplicate it for the other ones. Okay, let's edit before we proceed. So this is going to be last name, and last name change, and this is going to be, let's add the email here. Email is going to just be a string, and city is also, so we can change this to city, and city is also a nullable string, and on city change to make that capital. So which one, tell me what you think, which one is faster, to type straightforward or just to edit? Because it seems like even editing takes longer than I expect. So before the city we should have country, I believe. So this is going to be country, and this is going to call country, which we're going to create. Or let's avoid the country for now, because we're going to implement that in a different way. So now we have postal code, and postal code is going to be an int, and it's going to be nullable as well. Then we have on postal code change here, and after postal code, have we done address? No. So address, we'll have on address change. Then after address we have phone number, and phone number is also nullable, and here we'll have on phone number change. All right, so that's all we need for now. We add a country as we move forward. Okay, so now we'll use a column to nest. We nest all the text fields in a column, and here we have a column, and in that column body we have our modifier, and we pass modifier that we've created above. Then we select it to fill maximum size, and dot vertical scroll, we want to make it scrollable, so we'll pass state, and we say remember scroll state down here like this. So then we can set our vertical arrangement, and our arrangement will be we want it to be spaced, arrangement dot spaced by, want it to be spaced by 12 dp each one. So if we look at our, I don't know how much the space here is, the space in between them is 12. Okay, so that's the space we've applied here, and now we can now call our test field, the burger text field that we've created here like this. So in our burger text field, we'll pass our value. The first value is our first name, and on value change we pass on first name change, and our placeholder is going to be first name of the user. And on error we say if the first name length is not in the range 3 to 50, then it should show error. Okay, so if it's empty, if it's 1 or 2, it should show error. Okay, because that will not be a valid name. Okay, so we can copy this and paste them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's edit and see how much more we need to go. So this is going to be last name, and this is going to be on last name change, and this is going to be last name, and the length should be this, the length validation should also be the same. So then this is going to be email, and this is going to be, the email is not going to change, so we just pass an empty lambda here. So here we have email, and here just email. So, and the length of our email doesn't matter, we don't need to check that because our email is always populated. So, but for our enable, we're going to pass false because we want the email to appear disabled, to tell them that they can't really change their email. So after email, we're going to have the city, so that is here. So here we call city, and here, and city is going to be either city or null or empty string. Then here on city change like this. So then the placeholder will ask them the city, and the length of our city is also the same. So we'll leave that as it is. Then the next one is the postal code. So here we're going to put our postal code in a string, and we say so postal code or empty string like this. So here is going to be on postal code change, then we just type postal code here. Then the length of the postal code is going to be because our postal code is an int. So we say postal code if is equal to null, or postal code dot to string dot length is between just 3 and 8. It's not between 3 and 8 because I haven't seen a postal code that is longer than that. So now we add our keyboard option. Yeah. So keyboard options, and we pass our keyboard type because this is going to be some postal code. Since we're going to implement the countries API, which means that some countries have both alphabet and numbers, while some have just numbers. So we're going to make it possible for anyone to enter either alphabet. So I think we can just use text so that you can enter either text or numbers as well. Okay, so this is redundant. We can remove that. This is supposed to be, I think I'm working on the wrong thing. Yeah, so we will pass all this, copy that, and pass it here. Okay, so this is for our postal code. So the next one after our postal code is our address. So our address is just going to be, okay, on address change. So is our address caps lock? No, I'm calling the wrong thing here. Address, okay, yeah, that's the one. And down here we'll say address. Okay, so then on error, we'll use our simple on error check here. Copy this, just pass it here because it's still the same. So address, I think I have missed this, like here, city, and that's going to be nullable, and here first name. Yeah, I think I'm more slower trying to edit some of this stuff than write them straight up. So our keyboard option, yeah, so like that's our address. Okay, so then we need one more, which is going to be our phone number, and our phone number can be an empty string as well. On phone number change, then here we pass phone number, and let's do our check. So here we pass phone number because this is also an int dot to string dot length. Within that, let's make the phone number 30. Not that long. No phone number is that long, but you know what I mean. So here we change this type to number. Okay, so that's our custom profile form done. So now if we want to see this in action, we can go to our profile screen. Let's create a profile screen. So inside this profile, I was supposed to create a component where I was supposed to put this profile form so that will make it clean. So component. So now we'll copy this and put it inside the component, refactor that's done. Right, so now that we've created all this, let's create our profile. So let's create our profile form and call up this and see how that displays. Okay, so now what we need to do is create a new composable file here, and in that file we'll call it profile screen. So at composable here we'll have a function called profile screen, and that is going to have a body, and in the profile screen here we won't add a parameter, though we'll add a navigation later, which I think we should add now so that we don't run into issues because we are not reading the screen yet. So we'll say navigate back, and this is going to be a lambda because we'll just want to display the components that we've created. So inside here now we don't have a view model yet, so we will just use our scaffold, and in our scaffold we have the padding. We call this padding or padding values, either way. Then in the body of the scaffold we'll add our top app bar. Don't forget to set our container color to our surface so that it will be uniform. So now then import that. Yeah, so now after the surface, let's add our top app bar again. Our top bar here inside the lambda we call our top app bar, and our top app bar title is going to be a lambda. Then we'll pass a text here, and in that text, and we'll call this my profile, and in that my profile the font family is our Oswald variant and font, variable font, and then the font size. The font size is going to be a font size dot, let's make this large. Okay, then our color is going to be our text primary, which is black, I believe. Okay, so that's our title done. Then after the title, let's add our navigation icon, which is the not yet navigation icon here. So in that lambda, we're going to use an icon button like we've done before, and in the body we'll pass on click, and the on click is going to be the navigate back. I've just created up there. So now we use an icon and we pass painter, and painter resource, we call our resource or resources dot icon dot, what's it supposed to be, arrow back. Yeah, that's arrow back or back arrow, that way. So here we pass our content description, and in that we say arrow or back arrow icon, the way it was named. So that's it. Then the tint, let's set the tint to icon primary. Yeah, like this. So now our navigation is set, even though we still have to go to our nav graph and set that up so that it will work when we click that. But let's do that once we set up our top app bar. We'll complete our top app bar. So let's set some colors, and our color is going to be top app bar default, this one, dot center align top app bar color. No, but this is not center align top app bar color. We just call top app bar colors like this. Then we'll set our container color, and we set that to our surface color, and we set our scroll, because we know it's going to be scrollable, and we set that to surface as well. And after that, we can add our navigation icon content color, and we set that to icon primary. And after that, we can set our title content color, we set that to text primary. And after that, we can set our action icon content color, and we set that as well to icon primary, like this. So after that, we can now set, why is this giving me error? We need to opt in for this material 3 API here, and that error is gone. So now inside this place, we can now use a column again to align our elements or our items. So here in our column, we set a modifier, and we set our modifier to fill the maximum size, and also add some padding, and the padding will add some horizontal padding so that it doesn't get too close to the start. And we add another padding here, which is going to be our padding values. And after that, we also want to set our IME padding so that the content will be properly aligned in the view. Okay, so that's done now. So the next thing we can do here is to call our profile form. Let's just call our profile form here in the body here. And what did we call our profile form again? Just profile form. So we say profile form here. No, we don't need a body for that. So now we're going to specify all the remaining items to save us some time. So here we're going to pass empty lambdas to all this, okay, to see if our profile will display. We just want to see something on the screen so that when we do the rest, we can now, when we implement our repository to read the data from the database, from Firebase, we'll be able to properly read the user data that exists into the profile form that we've created. So for now, we're just trying to test out the components that we've created to see how they have shown, if we need to make some changes before we move on to the next stage. Okay, I know some of you might not be happy with this, but it's just to show some progress. Okay, so let's set modifier width, set this to the 1F. All right, so for the first name, so let's just add some dummy text here and use that to, because this can be empty. Then email, just add any kind of string at stephen@email.com. So our city, Newcastle. Okay, then postal code, anyone. I need to put that in a string. Okay, address, you need to say city center. Then phone number, let's add some some numbers. Okay, so I think with that we should be able to see something here. Now it's time to set up our navigation to that and make sure that everything is where they are supposed to be. So first of all, we will set our profile screen composable. So let's go to our screen and create that profile screen object, data object. So this is going to be profile screen profile. Okay, so now profile is set. Our nav graph here, let's create a composable, and in that composable we'll pass the type, which is the screens dot profile like this, and in the body we call our profile screen like this, and in our profile screen we say navigate back, and which is going to be nav controller dot navigate up, because we want to go back to the home screen where we came from. Then to access this profile screen, remember that we have to click here in order to access the profile screen. So let's set that navigation up as well for this to work. We've set up the back navigation, which we just did now, and let's go back to that. Should be in our home screen, I guess. So there's our home screen here. So in our home screen we have, so here in our home screen we have to add up navigate to profile here. So let's copy this, add comma, add this. So this is going to be navigate to profile, right? So now down here we can just call, instead of putting in a lambda, we just call navigate to profile here. So with this navigate to profile, we're going to have error in our nav graph, which is here. So we need that extra parameter that we just added now in our home graph. So in our home graph now, we just add comma here and say navigate to profile, and in that lambda we say nav controller dot navigate, and here we pass our screens dot profile like this. So with that we have a working navigation, and let's test that out and see how that performs. Let's check that. Okay, as you can see, we have a profile screen with the dummy data that I added before, and everything looks fine. So let's go back. That works. So that's all set up. So the next thing we will do now is to set up our customer repository, our repository implementation to read the actual data, and also our profile view model, so that we can pass, as the event on the screen on the UI is happening, we can return some results from our database instead of this dummy data here. Okay, so let's get to that. So you can go now, take a quick break and come back, and let's continue. So now it's time to start from our higher level details. Let's close this down and let's tidy up our screen a little bit. So the next thing, profile screen, we need that. We need this, but we'll get back to that later. So now let's go back to our domain, and here we're going to add another suspend function, which is going to be to read a customer flow. First of all, so to read our customer flow, we add a function here. Now let me add it in between these two, and we'll call that suspend function, and we call that read customer flow. So in our read customer flow, we're going to return a flow. So our flow is going to, here we pass the type, which is our request state. Here I didn't import the flow, so let's quickly import the coroutine flow like this, then also pass our customer, because that's our data that we're going to be reading. So now, and let's also create to update the customer, so that we can implement both of them together and move on quickly. So update customer, and in our update customer we're going to have pass the customer, and on success yes and also on error, so that because now we are doing update, we need to find out what's happened, if it was successful or if it's not successful. Okay, so then that is done for now. We can close that down. Then here, let's now implement those two members here like this. So first of all, we're going to implement reading our customer flow, and a lot is going to go into that, but we will use, let's assign this to a channel flow. Then in that here, let's take this out. We use a try catch block, and in the catch section, let's implement that, then move on with the body of the try. So in the catch, we have our E and exception. So in the there we call send, and in our send body we have a request state dot error, and here we say error while reading customer information, and then we pass the message and say E dot message like this. Okay, so that's our catch done. Then in the body, we start by checking to get the current user, because the flow we're reading is from the current user who is already signed in through our Google Auth implementation that we did earlier. So the customer is already signed in. Now we want to read the customer details. So first of all, create a variable that we'll call user ID and assign this to get current user ID. Then once we now check if that process was successful. So we say user ID. If it's not null, then that means we got the user ID and the user is valid. Then we should now check our database for this particular user. Then we'll say database. Let's call this database like this, equal to, let's call our Firebase dot Firestore like this. So now we have put up our database now. Then we say that our database dot collection for that particular user, we need to access the customer collection for this particular user and see the data they have available. So now we'll pass our customer, which is the collection part, which we can have so many of them as we move on. So now we pass dot document like this, and inside this we pass our user ID so that we can collect the exact document of that particular user, not the whole document in our collection. Okay, so now we read with our snapshot for the data that we've just collected for this user, then dot collect latest to collect the latest data of that user so that we don't keep pushing stale data back. Okay, so we can call this document or document snapshot as the case may be. Now that we have collected the document snapshot, so we also check again if that document exists. So that document snapshot dot exists like this. Then if it does, let's now pass the customer data. Okay, so we have some tricky situation here. Things like data like our postal code, our dial code, our phone numbers are going to, our phone number and postal code are going to come as long. So we need to map that out and cast the postal code as int because it's of type int here, and our phone number also comes as a map. So we from Firebase. So we need to set that up rightly here when we're reading the customer flow, so that by the time we implement the countries API, we were able to read that data in effectively without any mapping issues. Okay, so because of that, after this condition, we will safely convert our postal code here. So, and the way for us to do that, let's move this up a little bit. Here we create a variable here that we'll call postal code, and we pass our document, we cast our document snapshot dot get, and here we get our postal code as it is in our data class. So as long, which it comes as, then long like this, then we now cast that to int like this. Okay, so then we'll now say val for this will be for our phone number now. So our postal code is mapped out correctly now. So now we set a variable here that we're going to call phone number map, and we set that to document snapshot dot get, which gets our phone number like this as a map. So in that map, we use the star to indicate any type for the key and value. Then here we create our variable that we now call our phone number, and that phone number will assign it to our phone number map, which is nullable info.let. So here we only map it if the dial code and the number is available, which is when we have updated it, not at the first instance. So we set that to IT and we pass our country code. This is going to be country code as a nullable string, which comes as long. Okay, so and we also pass that, cast that to in like this. So then we have another variable, which is the number, which is the phone number that we're going to add. IT, then we pass the number like this, a nullable string. Okay, like this. So this is complaining, and why is that? Okay, that's fine now. So now we use this condition to say that only if you should create a phone number object if both dial code and number are available. So we say under here, we say if dial code, sorry, can't find the dial code because this is supposed to be inside this variable. So if dial code is not null and number is also not null, then we should create our phone number here and do that. So our phone number here is the phone number from our customer data class here, which is this one. So I think I'm using a small letter here, that's why I can't find it. So this one here, and there's the phone number from our data model. So in this phone number we have two parameters, which is the dial code, and we pass the dial code we've created above here, and also the number. Then we also pass the number that we've just mapped. Okay, so like this. Then else, if both of them are null, both of them are empty, then return null, meaning we couldn't find a phone number, which is what is going to be now when we read our customer flow, because there's no phone number and dial code yet because we've not implemented that country's API yet. So now we create another variable which is going to be we'll use to map our customer data. So customer equal to customer class. Then we pass all these parameters, which I'm going to specify. So our ID is going to be document snapshot.id, and our first name is going to be document snapshot.get, and we pass our first name string as string. Okay, so I'll copy this, paste this here, cut that out. So for our postal code, we just pass the postal code variable we've created above. And for our phone number, we just pass the phone number variable that we created above as well. Then is admin, we can cut that out, not necessary for now. So here we're going to have last name, and here we're going to have email, and after email we are going to have city, and that city is also as a nullable string. And last but not the least, address. Have we added address to our customer? Let's check our customer. There is no address, which we're going to add now, and our address is going to be a string, which could be null. And after the address, what else have I not added? Yeah, profile picture. Yes, so profile picture URL. Okay, so profile picture URL, because we're going to be adding our profile picture to our implementation as well. So now we go back here, and it's going to request for those ones. Take away is admin. For address, we have our address as document snapshot.get, and we pass address here as a nullable string like this. Then profile picture URL, we're going to have document snapshot.get, and here we pass a photo URL, and this is also as a nullable string. Right, so I think we've covered most of the basics here, so we should be good to go now. So now under that, we're going to call send again, and this send is going to be requested state dot success, that is unsuccessful data passing. Then here we pass our data and assign our data to the customer variable that we've created above. Then else, that's if the document snapshot does not exist, then we should call send again and call our request state. We should call send and our request state dot error, and we say that we can pass, say that queried customer document, because we're querying customer document at this point, does not exist. So in case we've deleted the customer document but the customer authentication is still there, so this is what happens. Then after that, we can now say else. So we can now say else for this check, to check if the current user ID is valid or not. So we say else, we still call send again and our request state dot error, so that we pass and say that user is not available. But once the user is signed in, our user will always be available. But it's important we keep all this check for sanity's sake, so that if we're having issues, we'll be able to track it. So here, this is now our create customer is now requesting for this parameter as well, so which we don't need all these ones. All we need here is just the profile picture, and I'll see if that works. So this is going to be user dot photo URL dot toString. Yeah, so our create account user account is now okay. So now we have created our read user flow successfully, and now we can read our user flow, I believe. So the next thing we're going to do now is to create the update customer, implement this our update customer. So you can take a break and we'll do that on the next one. Okay, all right, welcome back. So let's quickly create this instead of testing the user flow, so that we can test that together, because we still need to create our view model after this. So let's create this, complete this before we move on to creating our view model, and we can now read this on the screen. So here we do the same thing again. We use try catch, and in this try catch, in our catch section, we catch all the errors that might arise because of certain anomalies. Then here we say on error, and we pass a string error while updating customer information, and let's pass that error here, and we say e.message, just like this. So in the body of our try here, we're going to also check to get our current user as well. So another user ID here equal to get current user ID, and down here we check the condition to say if user ID is not null, which we did before. And now let's go to Firestore so that we can update these details, and we fetch the right user document as we did just up there. And now we say var, we call customer collection, and we'll assign that to Firestore dot collection, and we pass the collection part, which is our customer collection, like this. So now we create another variable, we say existing customer, and we assign that to customer collection dot let's add this to a new line, say dot document, and in this document we pass our customer dot ID, so the right customer ID, like this. Then also we need to get, then let's set that to await, to wait for the main thread if anything is running, okay, to avoid race conditions, as we know. So now down here, what am I doing? If existing customer dot exists, right, then we should now let us also map our phone number, because we believe at this stage the user have entered the phone number and a dial code. So let's set up the phone number map again, customer dot phone number, which is nullable dot let. Okay, so here we say map of, and in the map we are going to pass our country code to it dot dial code, then we pass our number string to it.number like this. So this is our phone number map. So now in our collection under this, we say customer collection dot document, because now we're trying to get the customer collection and pass the right customer ID. So now once we've passed the right customer ID through the document, we've accessed the document. Now we've passed the correct customer ID. We can make this bring this down to a new line. Then we can say dot update. So in this update, we're going to use a map to map the new data that we're updating for our users. Okay, so now we start again. I know this kind of repetitive, but that's how you do it. So there might be other better ways. So if you know other better ways, just put it down in the comments. We're all getting better here. Customer dot first name. Okay, so then last name to customer dot last name. So it's just like what we did before. Just map all this to the right place. These ones that are editable, that will allow the customer to edit. So here, city. Okay, we're not adding, I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. We're not adding this country yet because we have not implemented that bit yet. So we'll just leave it like this for now. Then let us make sure that we await in case something else is running. And then after that, we can now call on success, because it means that we've successfully updated this. If that was successful, then under here, which is to check the existing customer. So here for the phone number, we just map this to, this is what I'm telling you. If you make these mistakes, it's going to have issues. So if you map this like this, it's going to just map to the phone number. And you remember our phone number is just an int. So which is not going to work because Firebase uses map. So here we will now set that phone number map that we've created above, and that will make it work. So here, when we check if the existing customer, and the existing customer will do all this, update their details. But if not, then we say else. And in the else, we say on error, and we say that, so we can call our request state dot error like this. So we'll just pass customer not found, or customer document not found. Okay, so then that after that, we have another if statement to check if the current user is available. Then if the current user is not available, we also put that error and say request state dot error, and we pass the simple message to say user not available. So we're coming together, guys. Things are making sense, are getting into shape. So now we have created the function to update our customer. You see how that went? It went fine, I believe. So let's move on to the next, which is to create our profile view model. So welcome back. Let's go to our profile and create a new class that we'll call our profile view model like this. And I'll copy that. I don't need to copy that. So in our profile view model, here we're going to have some profile screen states to check for our data. We'll have a data class here that we'll call profile screen state. So let's create that up here before we proceed. So we call this data class. So I'll call it profile screen state. Okay, so now in this profile screen state, we're going to pass virtually everything we have here, and we copy that and we set that here, and let's make sure everything is the way they should be, but we need to instantiate all of them. So here is going to be an empty string, and here as well an empty string, and here an empty string, assign that here, and also here an empty string. Then city is null, postal code is null, yeah, phone number null, picture photo URL is null. This can go for now. Okay, so right here, this is our profile screen state. Then after our profile screen state, let's call our customer repository as the parameter for our view model, private var, make that private so that you can access it from other parts of our app for security reasons. And this will inherit from the view model like this. Okay, so with that done now, for our screen recomposition, we create a var that we'll call screen ready, and this var is going to be our request state, and we pass an empty unit to that. Then by mutable state of, then we pass our request state dot loading like this. So the next one, we're missing e there. Then let's import the setters and the getters and the get. Right, so now we create another variable here that we're going to call screen state, and this screen state is going to be our profile screen state by mutable state of, then we pass our profile screen state like this. Okay, as a function call, is there anything that have not been instantiated? Why is it requesting for code string address city? So let's call a private set here. Oh, we're missing photo URL. That is why this is giving us error, but that's done now. Yeah. So now, first of all, we have to check if our form is valid. And in order to check if our form is valid is to check the length for the form. Like, where did we do that before? I think it's in our profile form, right? So to check if our form is valid is to also check all these, because to control this error effect here, to determine if that field is valid or not, we have to check for this error condition that we've already placed here. So now we go to our profile view model and we create a variable that we will call val is form valid to check the validity of our form, to make sure everything is synced. So is it going to be a boolean, which is either true or false. Then we pass get. So we'll pass the receiver, which is our screen state. Then here in the body, we're going to check for all this. So now we're going to enclose this in a bracket to avoid any pitfall that might arise. So first name dot length is in the range 3 to 50, and we check for our last name. The length is still in that same range, 3 to 50, and we check for our city. Dot length is in the range 3 to 50. So, and we check for our postal code if it's not null, or postal code dot toString dot length in the range 3 to 8, and we check for address dot length in the range 3 to 50, and our phone number dot length is in the range 5 to 30. So now this is what will determine if our form is valid or not. So if any field does not meet up with this, then we should show that error color, which is red. So now we are going to create an init block here, but then we create our private function here, private suspend function, which we'll call to load, which will be to observe the customer. Okay, so this will be observe customer, to observe the customer details. Okay, so in the body we check for, go to our customer repository dot read customer flow, which is observing that customer. So then collect latest, and let's say this is the latest data, latest live data that we have. Let's just call this data so that we don't confuse it. So now we use a when statement and say that when we say data dot is success, then we should pass the var, which we're going to call the fetch data, and we assign that to data dot get success data like this. Then we have another variable here that we're going to call the dial, and that dial is going to be fetch data dot phone number like this, which is nullable dot our dial code, right? Then so our dial code, now we say screen state, Then we assign that to our profile screen state like this, then map our data again. So ID, and we say fetch data.id, then also first name is fetched dot first name like this, then last name. So we'll just map the remaining data like this. Okay, so once our data is mapped, we say screen ready, and we assign screen ready to request state dot success, and we pass an empty unit to that. Then if our data dot is error, that means couldn't read the data, then we should pass the screen ready and assign that to request state dot error, and say data dot get error data, error message like this. Then if else, we should also pass a unit. Okay, I think we're missing something out. This is when, not while. I didn't see that. Okay, all right, so this is it. Yeah, so everything looks good, but we still need to update these other fields, which is in case we want to update them, because now we have read the customer flow. So now we have observed the customer flow and read. That's the same thing. So now we are going to update some of these fields, like our first name. So we'll create a function to do that. So update first name, and we pass a value, which is going to be a string. Then here we say screen state equal to screen state dot copy, and here we pass our first name and we pass the value like this. We're missing E here. So now this is the function. So what I will do is I will quickly duplicate this for other fields that we need to update. So copy that, put that here. So now that we've finished with that, let us now create the function to update our customer. All right, so here we say update. So we say here update customer, and in our update customer, we're going to have on success, and that's going to be an empty unit, and on error is going to be a unit with type string. Okay, so here we'll call our view model scope dot launch, and here we'll call our var. Here we'll call our customer repository dot update customer, and here I will call our customer, and I'll call our customer class here, customer class, then map all the same data all over again like we've done before. So I can copy this from here, just dump it here, and edit this to screen state. All right, that's it. So I think we're missing something here. Which other one is he asking for? On success. Yeah, so we call on success here. So the last one on error like this. So this is our update customer done. So now that we've finished our view model, we can now go back to our profile screen here, and once we get back to our profile screen, we can now call our view model. We now inject our view model using coin. So but let's go to our module, and in our module now we are going to copy this, undo that, copy that, paste that here, and here we're going to call our profile view model like this. Okay, so that's easy. So we go to our profile screen now, and in our profile screen we will inject our view model. So here we call our profile, I call it profile view model, and we'll assign that to coin view model. We pass the type profile view model like this. So now we have created our profile view model. Let us also create our screen ready and our screen state. So here we say screen state, and we set that to profile view model dot screen state. Okay, then our screen ready as well. No, you've been here before. Screen ready equal to profile view model dot screen ready. Okay, like this. Then as well, to check if our form is valid, we create our is form valid here. Is form valid, then we check what did I miss out? Capitalize that. Then profile view model dot is form valid, like this. Okay, so now we have gotten all our states from our view model. Then now we can now quickly go down to our profile form here. Then now put all that up so that we can actually read this data. So down here, what we need to do now is simply to take out this dummy data and say screen state dot first name. Then on value change, which we're going to deal with later on for our update. So we can deal with that now because we've created the functions to do that. So profile view model, then update first name, like this. Isn't that simple? So here screen state the last name, and here the same thing, our profile view model, then update last name, just like that. Then for our email, it's just going to be our screen state dot email, and our city is also going to be the same, screen state dot city. So now on value change for city, we say profile view model the same way, update city. Okay, so for the postal code, screen state dot postal code like this. Then on postal code change is still profile view model, then update postal code. So it's complaining inapplicable candidate, update postal code value in. Okay, so what did I do here? Where did I screw that up? Postal code. I set postal code here to be int. Is that what it should be? Because you remember it's coming as long, but we casted as int before. So yeah. So let's go to our profile form and see if we're having some type issues here. There is a type mismatch. So here there is a type mismatch. So our postal code is an int, and this is going to be int. Okay, so I think that should take care of that. So down here where we call our postal code, we're going to put that in a lambda, and here we'll say we'll pass it dot to int or no, like this. So with that, I guess we should be good to go down here. That's all done, corrected. We can now move on now and go to our screen. So as it's now all done, we can now move on and go back to our screen here. Yeah, we're in the screen. So here the next one is our address. So it's going to be screen state dot address, like this. We have another type mismatch. So change parameter address type of function profile form to string. So let's go back again to our profile form and see address is string. But what's our address here? It's a nullable string. So let's see. Okay. Down here that have affected something down here, which is, so yeah, so now, okay, looking at the wrong thing. So okay, so we can now put the Elvis operator to say and can be null. So add a nullable type here. I think that settles it for us, so we can proceed. See, some of these little changes are going to put you in trouble if you don't take care of them. So that was what I was talking about, the mapping then. So the way you map your data types matters a lot. So this is going to be update address, like this. So phone number is going to be screen state dot phone number, and that phone number. So then on value change, we still do the same thing like before. Profile view model, then update phone number, like this. So this is our mapping done. So now you remember we have a button here, which is from our primary button that we created, I think in episode 1, in episode 2. So if you have not seen that episode, I urge you to follow it up and see what we've done there. Then if you have not subscribed, please, I want to use this opportunity to ask you to subscribe, because it helps us keep doing this, and also share your thoughts, no matter what it is, in the comment section, so that we can find ways to make this better. Okay, we can't make it better without your input and without your interaction on this channel. So please take some time out now to do that. All right, so and make sure you come back. Don't go from there. All right, so now let's add that primary button. We've added a spacer to that, so let's call our primary button here. And our primary button doesn't need a body, so but here we set our test, we set it to update. Okay, so then after our test, our icon, we use our painter resource and we pass our resources dot icon dot check mark, because that's our update icon there, so it's check mark here. All right, okay, so now we have some parameters remaining. Enabled is going to be is form valid to determine if it's enabled or not. If the form is not valid, that means we have some fields we need them to fill up, so that's the only time we can enable that. So now on click, we call our profile view model dot update customer like this. Then on success, we pass request state dot success and we say success customer details successfully updated. Okay, so now we can choose to add a toast here. So but let's do this. Let's add the on error so that this error will go away so that we can continue. So message, and so here we call our request state as well dot error, and here we say error updating customer details. So we can just show that in a toast. Maybe we can call it delay here and set that to 2000 milliseconds, but this delay needs to be called from a suspend function. Okay, so we can just take that out and use our toast dot make test, and we can set our context here, our local context, say context var context equal to local context dot current. So down here we can now call context and we pass the message just like this, and we pass and we say toast dot length short, right, and dot show. Okay, so we can still copy the same toast and paste it here and just change the message to this so that we can show that on our UI. Okay, so I think we are very good and okay to test this out and see if it works. Okay, I think everything should be fine. Now let's test that and see if it works or not. So this is the moment of truth to check if our implementation actually works. That's reading our customer details and also updating them. So let's check here, profile. Wow, so there is no data coming up from our database yet. And why is that? So let's close this down momentarily and investigate. So, and let's run that. Everything looks fine here. Let's run that again and check our log card and see if there is any error, and there's no error at all. Okay, close that. Let's check we're connected to the internet, so we have internet. So yeah, after our implementation, we still can't read our customer data, as you can see here. So I missed out something in our view model. You remember we created this init block here, and in that init block we've not called any of these, like to observe our customer, where we implemented all these functions right here. So now we need to call the observe customer in this init block, and we use our view model scope dot launch, and now we pass our observe customer like this. So if we do that, let's relaunch our app and see if it's going to read the data just yet. So now we can read our customer data. So just that simple oversight there cost us our initial excitement, but that's fine. So now if we try to update the customer, let me undock this and see. Let's see if it's going to save. And let's make this a floatable window. And let me close this for now. Open our database. So as we can see right here on the right side, we have some data and some null values as well here. And let's now try to update our application, our user profile, I must say. So add some numbers here, add some gibberish, and also add some numbers here as well. So now we can update, and as you see that response, everything updates immediately. Okay, so that means our update is working as it should. So now that we have established that our application can read our customer flow and also update our customer information, it's time to tidy up our UI for great user experience. So we need to add this info card in case there is any network errors or any issue that our application might encounter to our design, so that we can capture those errors. And also when loading the user profile details information, we need to show them some circular progress indicator to show that something is coming up for their patients. Okay, so now in Android Studio, we go back to our profile screen here, then we cut all this off. I believe cut that. Okay, so here we're going to use the screen ready that we have created up above, and we call screen ready here dot display results, which you know where display result comes from our util request state class. So now in this place we can now call our loading, unloading, then use a lambda to pass the loading card that we created earlier. You see it's coming up handy using our modifier, because we've created all this earlier. Now we can just call them in the right places, few max width like this, max size. So after that we have on success, then in on success we also use a lambda, and in that lambda now we can just paste our initial profile form and our primary button here. Then after that, after on success, we have on error. So in that on error we use lambda again, but let's give this lambda a name and call it message like this. Okay, so in that message we can now call our info card here. So and our info card from the prototype here we have this dog picture here. So this dog picture here, I have downloaded it. So you can download this dog picture from this website called the SVG repo. That is where I usually get my free SVG pictures. So it's SVG repo like this. So you can search for dog, and we use this one. Yeah, here we go back to our Android Studio. So in our Android Studio, in the info card, I've downloaded that, so I can add this to our drawable file here. We go to add new vector assets, and we already have that here. So I can just cut down the name here to this and say next and finish that up. So now we have our dog XML file here. Then we go to our resources, and here we'll create a new variable that we'll call dog like this, and r dot drawable dot dog like this. Okay, so in our profile we can now say here image, and we pass our resources dot icon dot dog like this. So and also we add a title which says oops, right, like this, and a subtitle which is going to be just our message up above. So whatever error we are encountering should be that. Okay, so we can give our app a quick run and see how this info card is. So but before we can see this info card in action, we need to clear our database. So let's clear this updated data that we have here, because that means you can't find any data when we run our app again. So I've deleted that document, and now we can go back to Android Studio and rerun our app again. Okay, so we're in, check our profile, you see that. So you say oops, queried customer document does not exist. So that means we have deleted our customer customer document. Okay, and this our dog. Yeah, I think it's fine. So now you see how our info card displays, right? So that is done now. Okay, so now what we can do again is to sign back in, sign out and sign back in, so that we can recreate that document that I deleted before. So now we sign back into our app. So now we have signed back into our app. Let's see if our document has been recreated. Oh, there is a weird activity going on here. There is no form and there is just the button. That's so weird and surprising, but let's see. I think I know why it's that in this our success, we're just passing our form directly, which doesn't know how to align the elements of those forms. So now what we can do to rescue that is to add a column, add our profile form and the button in a column so that we can display properly. So we'll add a column here, and in the column body we add our implementation, and we add some style our column, and we do that by using our famous modifier .FillMaxSize. And outside of that, we should add some horizontal alignment, and this will be alignment.center horizontally like this. So let's relaunch our app and see if that gives us back our form. So right here, let's see. Yeah, our form is back. So that column feature is why we couldn't get the form initially. So now that we've done this, we capture our UI looks smart. Let's move on to the next stage, which is to add the text field to query our external database, external API, which will give us the data for our countries. So you can go grab a cup of coffee, water, whatever, then come back. Let's start the part 2 of this amazing build.